Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, your podcast for music fun times.
For music fun times.
Yeah. I'm Peter Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me, as of course, as always. I love when I say as of course, when I mix up is of course and as always together. My crew, my team, the fellow players of this charade we call this podcast. We've got Drew.
Would I be the Ohio player?
Ideally, yeah. We've got Brett.
This is the life.
Yes. And we've got Patrick.
Yep.
Yes.
Real bundle of fire today, Petey.
I'd compare him. He's our very own Mariel. If you ever watch Always Open on on Rooster Teeth, you would know he's our Mariel.
I don't know if that's a compliment. Probably not.
I like Mariel. Mariel's great. And she's the whole thing's from Texas. But
I have a friend who's actually at RTX right now as we talk about this, which dates are recording.
Don't date the podcast. This was people waited an entire week for this.
Yes. But yes. Talk about music. We're here gathered to talk about music. The provider of the music this week is none other than Drew. Drew, what do you have for us to discuss?
This is a band that, like I said, their sort of debut album. They've done some smaller EPs, but this is their first full length. It's a band I found really just sort of oddly, and I ended up really, really enjoying what I heard from them. So I decided to just bring them on, just because I was liking listening to it, and I wanted to listen to it more. So it gave me a good excuse. This is a band called The Strike. The album is called Faint of Heart.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some expectations, because we didn't know them either, so we probably don't have much expectation, but let's talk about talk about them anyways. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I had no idea what I was getting into. I don't even know if, I remember looking this band up and being like, is that the one that he sent a YouTube video of, last time when we finished Post-Show the Post? I had no clue exactly what it was. There ain't no Wikipedia page for this band to spill the beans. And I didn't dig deep enough to find their social media accounts, but I had absolutely zero clue what I was getting into. I did not know that this was a Utah-based band until minutes ago.
Yes.
Provo.
Or a week ago.
A week ago.
Yeah.
God,
don't date the podcast. Don't expose the business, brother.
Gotta keep the kayfabe. God damn it.
Other than that we didn't bother changing shirts. It's still RoboCop time. A week later,
right?
RoboCop shirts.
Mark Price up in this pitch. Whatever.
Sports.
Wait,
sports. Patrick,
let's derail this one too. Yeah. God damn it.
Patrick, what were your expectations coming into this album? If you have
coming in blind here, just sort of, whatever it was. I didn't know it was. It's all new to me.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this album, this band. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
This album is something that is super sort of out of left field in my opinion, but at the same time, for what I've been listening to and what I always love, makes total sense why I would gravitate towards listening to it way more than I probably should since I found it. It's something that has a very sort of almost 80s inspiration from it. It's something that has a lot of really good bass licks, really funky bass lines. The horns in this record just hit in a really, really cool way. But although it's something that it is that almost 80s-ness that comes out of it that I really, really love. It's something that, not unlike bands that I've brought before, bring in very modern sensibilities to very older inspirations, which I think is really, really cool. You have a modern pop song writing sensibility in them, but you still have that obvious love of that 80s funk, and you have the crazy synth work and that sort of thing pushing it ahead. It is sort of that culmination to me of that, like, I have been really liking, like, the bands I listen to are like Chromeo and stuff like that, like, recently of newer stuff, and then, like, I've been getting into a lot of weird electronic, like, outrun type stuff in retro wave and vaporwave.
Are you comparing this album to Chromeo? Because that's totally not going to happen at all.
Are you comparing this to synthwave? Because I have a thought. Go ahead.
Right. It's that sort of thing, right? I mean, fuck, the album art is like an anatomically correct heart in like purples and blues and stuff like that, looking like something straight out of like r/outrun, and yet like it has a funk and a thickness to it that I just really, really enjoyed, and it got me dancing.
Spelled with 2 C's or
like... No, she is not thick, although this album is thick in all the right places. Okay. I mean, also in their About page, since I still have their Facebook out, they do put that they are full-time models.
Yes.
And that if you dig their pictures, it says full-time models /band from UT. If you dig our pictures, you might like our music, and then has a link to their Spotify page.
Maybe that's how they make jokes in Provo. Yeah. I don't know.
They're in on the funny.
What, you think they don't take themselves too seriously?
Weird. I know. It's almost like this band, like, again, it's one of those things where you can tell the band likes to have fun, and I sort of dig that. They've also, in their, like, also toured with page on Bandcamp, it's like Carly Rae Jepsen and members of Chicago. Yeah. So, like, I don't know.
You know, when I think of two bands that are similar, I think of Carly Rae Jepsen and members of Chicago.
Right. You are, like, I cannot do justice to what, like, this band does because it's all over the place, but somehow it all works very, very well.
It's kind of all over the place. I would say, compared to synthwave, honestly, the phrase I would use is synthwave light. If I were
it is. I would not be surprised if there are
A&R guys' version of synthwave.
It's the actual band. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, their trombone /keyboard player and their bass player happen to listen to a lot of Kavinsky's Outrun album. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
But yeah,
I think
Kavinsky, yes, you're thinking of the right person.
I am thinking of the right person.
Yes, Brett.
I'm so bad.
Am I the right person?
Yes, you're the right person for now. How would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes elements that got your attention?
Well, it goes different places. It's almost it's an album of songs, not an album of one continuous flow of one general style. Yes, there are synthesizers and lots of reverb and modulation on keyboards. There's some weird guitar stuff and big voice in most of the songs, but sometimes the vocals are reminiscent of one Michael Jackson, and sometimes in the same song where you have Michael Jackson type singing, you have not Michael Jackson style singing. Like you have songs where you're like, oh, they listen to, the Police, so they're going to up sing a little bit like Sting did, but on this track only, and only when there's also a downstroke guitar. It's definitely people that set out to make songs using the parts of other songs that they wanted to put together for themselves, and that's called music. But it's very lighthearted. sometimes the songs sound a little Hall and Oatesy, which you don't expect in an album that's so like cheese ball synthesizer it's hard to take this album seriously. I was sitting in my living room and my roommate came in and he's like, "Is this Chromeo?" I'm like, no, but it's like it.
It's Chromeo adjacent, apparently.
Yeah, and Daisy was like, "Is this like? Are they trying to sound like Michael Jackson?" I'm not alone. So at least I feel good in the opinion, at least in this one house.
She said to you, "You are not alone. She is here with you."
Yeah, and we both slow danced a little bit. And then Corey Feldman is playing at the Vogue Theater here in town. So all things coming together.
Was there a monkey named Bubbles?
I hope so.
Good to see you.
But yeah, those are I have concluded my thoughts on the themes and elements of Corey Feldman.
Yes. The themes and elements of Corey Feldman.
This week on Corey Breakers.
Yes. This week it'll be Feldman. Next week we're talking about Haim.
Haim, yep.
In the big house.
We'll talk about the one in the house. We've run completely out of ideas when we get to Taylor.
Yeah.
But yeah, Patrick. What would be the themes elements caught your attention?
If our beloved and aforementioned Chromeo are Transformers, this is some GoBot shit right here. This is
that is great. You get a thumbs up for that one.
This is some GoBot shit, and I am not a GoBots fan. It's been a while since I didn't like something on this show this much. I can see how there are pieces here that I like. I love Kavinsky's Outrun album. That shit's fucking awesome, and I love Chromeo, as we've long established. But this album just kind of the element when you're gonna pull stuff from the 80s, and there's a lot of 80s to pull from, the sound you don't want to pull from is Jazzercise commercial, and I feel like on at least half the tracks on this, it sounded like a Jazzercise commercial, like the synth tone, the drum beats. It just damn. I'll leave it at that. Now.
Honestly, I would say I would come a little higher on it in saying that there's a lot here that to like. Right. It's tight and well made, but it is very much pop radio. This sounds like modern mainstream pop music, with the gimmick for this particular mainstream pop music is, oh, hey, there's a synthwave thing going on. Let's do our concept on that.
Years ago, there was this thing called synthwave.
Yeah.
And now it has made it to the white people.
Now it has made it to, again, people are digging on this thing, but the retro sounds, it's a lot of what Bruno Mars is doing. It's a lot of what is happening on mainstream radio. These guys are making music for A&R guys, honestly. This is, like I said, these guys, I can only imagine these guys have about as many A&R guys scouting them as a dude that can throw a 90-something fastball with movement has scouts attending his high school games.
I do think that this is a little bit Transmorphers. I can agree with that. But
I don't know. Transmorphers would be more. This is Michael Bay Transformers to the Transformers cartoon.
Yeah, that's okay. It's not quite Transmorphers. No, they're not. They weren't going out to make
the
sports
quirky
by Huey
low
Lewis.
quality. It wasn't like it's the quirky low quality. It's good quality.
The first Transformers movie was all right.
Yeah, and it was mainstream. It had a lot of flash
made
and
for middle-aged
pizzazz,
white people.
Flash and pizzazz, but it's not bad. But it's very in the middle. I'm being honest. But yeah, Drew. Sorry. As we come out of that, let's talk about some of the key tracks to zero in on, because there's some good songs on here. There are good songs. I think so. to enjoy.
For what that's worth. For the guy who doesn't tell you his feelings about songs on this podcast.
I'm gonna be better. Starting from now on. I promise. I wrote down notes. Look. She wrote down notes. I have notes.
Playing Dungeon Master is a job. We can respect being the Dungeon Master of Record Breakers is difficult.
And PD has been more sort of about not dishing back to the person in the next block before having his own goddamn word. Yeah. Which I've appreciated the last 3 episodes where you have done that because I've noticed. Yeah. I'm like, oh, hey, he's actually taking his side. Good. Like, he's not just going to throw. Eye for an eye. Having that track at the very beginning and having it be like very synth heavy and having that strong vocal and having all of that right there up front and then almost hiding the fact that you have horns until the very end and like just putting them out there like, hey, yo, by the way, we got these guys and they're going to be in this album and you're going to have to watch for them because they're not that bad, was, I think, really a brilliant move. Then I Fall Hard. Something about that song and like the modulation that like followed through that track from the very beginning, I think was really cool. Plus the way it played the verses sort of dark and the choruses in this like lighter, more jubilant thing. I'm a sucker for that. Like bringing it up into the light for the choruses, I think it's really kind of nice, and people don't do it enough in the modern day. And then Ghosts of My Hometown, though, I have to go back to because that, to me, Ghosts of My Hometown is by far my favorite track on the entire album. The bass line, I think, is just fun and great and perfect. The guitar riffs, when they sort of punch through, are really great, but then they have this light sort of staccato play most of the time that lets that like sort of really cool funky bass line push through, and the horns coming in the second verse sort of as a blare and sort of a hit, and then really like ramping up in that second chorus, I think was really cool. And then you have the synth just drive throughout, I think was really nice. Like that to me, when I was like listening to this the first time before like we had decided on this and I was just listening to the record, I got to that track and I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to like follow what these guys are doing now, because that's just the thing I'm going to do. So.
Yeah. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Eye for an Eye. It has a saxophone that sounded like it was being played in a parking garage. That's not a bad thing. I want to actually record some saxophone on location, like just with like a Zoom recorder in like weird tunnels and stuff, and put that into my Snorecore album. But there's upbeat rhythm guitar that jangles. There's like the novelty drum kit toys and a guy hooting. Like you can't go wrong with a guy hooting. And obviously all of these songs have pretty hot bass lines on them. They're put together pretty well on the bottom end. But it's
the
parts of it.
Thick.
Yes, it is thick. It's not a perfect song. It has all of the parts of a groovy tune that sort of blended together. It's not perfect, but I kind of dug it. And Ghosts of My Hometown. This is the song that was definitely planned to have the Sting vocal inflections, it very much, and to the point where it's only for a little small section of the song where they do the I'm going to sing slightly offbeat and sort of up sing at the end. It was pretty great. It's pretty spot on with the execution. I don't think they're trying to fool anybody with anything. And finally, I have a Human Right. I'm just going to say that has a really, really cool bass line. Not much else that really struck my attention. But every time I listen to this album and through the playthroughs, I it's like, I'm going to have to pick up a bass guitar again and try and do that. have fun. But yeah, this is a very, very fun album if you're into groovy, sick bass lines, which I wonder why the guy who plays the bass guitar for reals actually brought this to us. So
I don't know if I'd say for reals.
better than I do. I have this novelty toy behind me that I don't do it. The funk does not get laid down by this guy.
No, and not by this guy.
And unless you're talking about smells, me and Petey can make some of those up real well. Well,
also,
you should. It's probably going to happen in a few weeks.
Yes. Also, I'm looking forward to when I come in for my recording session for your Snorecore project.
I
will be in that room.
Yes, this room exactly.
You'll mic it on. Just
set up some stereo condensers in the corners. Like they basically mic him like they mic John Bonham's drum kit.
Yeah,
just two big condensers in the corners, and that's it.
I'm sure everybody in the house is going to enjoy it. We're going to Snorecore till the and get me drunk, man. My nasal passage will close up. I will make some noises.
Yes, it's going to be fun. But yes, where were we? Key tracks. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I'm going to go with keys as to why I didn't enjoy this, because I didn't. Economics. The introduction desperately wants to be Kavinsky, and the rest sounds like a shitty Chromeo ripoff. That's that song in a nutshell. And then the aforementioned Jazzercise / 80s aerobics video really shows in Ghosts of My Hometown for me for some reason. I hated the chorus. The chorus was the most painfully we made this song and we sent this on a CD single to every record label in the universe. And I'm not really I get it. People want to be successful and make money, and I don't blame them. I'm about to be unemployed. I wish I had money, but I don't. But this is it's just so painfully commercial. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes we talked about last week with Huey Lewis and the News, that is fucking pop music, but it's brilliant. That record was created to sell copies. And this clearly was too, and it probably will, and good for them. But I don't know.
Maybe, you.
But this week, I guess my 17-year-old angry ass punk kid came out and hated everything about this record. I just didn't enjoy it. It rang hollow, and it felt like I said, this is GoBots to Chromeo's Transformers. This is
my track record
Digimon
on picking
to Pokemon.
If let it be known, if my track record on picking what's cool is any indication, they're not. They're not.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But
they're not having 19 number one or 19 top 10 singles.
Yeah, I really like that 80s aesthetics are back in music. That a lot of weird synth stuff and cool crappy drum machines are making a comeback, but for whatever reason this took all the wrong ones and put them in a record. But that's just my opinion, man.
Yeah, well, your opinion, man, is I don't know, it's yours, and we respect your
harsher our buzz,
no matter how wrong
my
it is.
Usually wrong opinion.
Yes,
no matter how wrong you are, you will still be here next week.
Yes. All of our
week.
I think this time it will actually be next week, which is crazy.
Fingers crossed. We never know.
You never know. But yeah, I mean, first songs, yeah, we'll talk about some of the songs. I Fall Hard is so obviously the single track, and is I noticed it was their last single, and it is very much what I would expect to hear on adult contemporary radio right now. Exactly right now, and I'm sure it will end up there pretty soon if the right check is cashed. Because they have a goal, and they're working towards that goal, and it's very obvious. I think, but yeah, it's a good song. There's some good songs in there. Eye for an Eye is a good song, despite the fact that they really rely on that hook. They just go. They have kind of a verse. Then they go in on that hook, and then kind of a second verse,
hook,
and then they go in on that hook, and barely a bridge, and then they go back into that hook. I'm like, okay, it's and then I understand the hooks. They hook people for a reason, and but they really they just all right. Do we get enough of a verse to count it as a verse? Or bare minimum for verses, then they go right back in the hook, which it's definitely interesting. And Faint of Heart
I'm loving this so much, Petey.
Yeah, Faint of Heart sounds ready for like a movie soundtrack of some kind,
like a coming of age teenage outcast kid falls in love with the nerdy girl who takes her glasses off and becomes a supermodel. Yeah,
something like that. I think it achieves those goals, and I can't. And honestly, all of these things are fine. I think it's something that it's an album that I can enjoy in doses, but like these songs. But I'll talk about it in the conclusion. But especially coming from somebody, I'll qualify all that coming from somebody who listens to K-pop. so I'll come back with the conclusions and bring in the qualifications then. But let's bring it back around the horn to some conclusive thoughts. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album?
I think I just snorted a fruit fly or something. But okay, I'm a big fan. I wasn't joking. I'm a big fan of a lot of the musical tools and tricks that they use to. And you guys know I certainly enjoy the cheesiest that the 80s has to offer, but this is very on the nose. It is inspired by the 1980s, and it is executed like somebody who was wanting to do that. And that's not a goal that is like worth less than any other goal, because I would probably have fun trying to, if I had the skill and ability and the available other people to make a cheesy 80s style synth pop rock album, I would cheese it up just all day long. And if you are into the cheese, if you are into well executed music and you just want something that's not going to work your brain out but will give you some background noise and some stuff where you're like, well, that was kind of groovy, or hey, that wood block and cowbell was pretty cool to be thrown in there. They've got some of that. So take a look.
It's in a book.
Yeah,
it's in an album.
I was gonna say it's not in the book.
Well, not yet. Wait until I come out with my music books.
Yes.
My music books to feecer Snorcore.
People read.
Wait until Hulk Rules comes to book.
Your official Faint of Heart novelization.
That's right. The video game of the movie of the book.
Yes. Patrick, what would be your conclusion on this album?
I did enjoy this, but go listen to it, form an opinion of your own. It's not like awful, it's just awful for me, I guess, if that makes sense.
And Patrick is also awful in taste, so remember that too.
Yes. Yes, I am still the one who brought Glassjaw. So never forget.
Always forget, because it's lost forever.
It's lost forever.
But go listen to this.
Still have that recap episode.
Or really go listen to Chromeo and the aforementioned Kavinsky album Outrun, because it's awesome. So go listen to that.
Or go play Outrun.
Yeah.
That also, even Outrun 2. Outrun 2 is pretty fun. Yeah. I thought that was
play
like
some Outrun while you listen to those albums. Yeah.
I was gonna, or play Outrun while listening to Outrun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yo, dog, I heard you like Outrun.
Yes.
Sega, what's up?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's like, as a person, like I said, as a person who listens to manufactured pop music all the time, in the form of K-pop, I can appreciate just some fun pop music with a concept or a gimmick behind it. This concept behind this is kind of diet synthwave. All the fun, none of the calories. And that's fine. It's fun. It has a lot of catchiness to it. It's super tight. The vocals are very tight, very well performed. But it is something that I had to say I did enjoy, but I did need it in doses. And it's something that's like I can enjoy this as one of like a playlist of different styles and different songs of different groups that I can jump back and forth to, not necessarily one I'm gonna like like sink my teeth in. It is good in measured doses. But yeah, let's give Drew the last word, as we always do. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album?
I absolutely love the fun on this record. Like I've said before, if I can, I really will always dig on an album that just sounds like the band is having fun making it. Whether that be that they're having fun making it because they enjoy the meticulous nature of putting this particular record together that you get in some like prog bands, or you get like in like a band like Toto or something like that. They enjoy that sort of thing, and you can sort of see that come out. Just look back at the screen, that was weird. Or it's a band that just like says, we like all this stuff, so we want to make a thing that's like the things we like, and we're just gonna like shove that all together. And that to me is what more of what this album is you get some guys that seem to like various things about various 80s inspired things, and just put it together in something that's really cool. The album in general, I think Brett really did say it, is if you like weird funky bass and
Funky dope like, fresh.
Funky dope and fresh bass, some weird sort of effect on that bass, and just sort of running with that and making the bass the hook, you will probably, I would say, you might dig this record. It is a fun record. It, again, like last week's, it's not gonna be a life changer, but I know I'm going to keep following this band and see what they do next, because I think that this was a really well-made record, and I want to see them do more things. They have horns, and they could be on the radio again, and I think that's pretty okay. Probably not gonna be, maybe.
I
would imagine that. Yeah, it's gonna get some play.
I think the very people that are in their ears helping them slap things together are the ones that are going to help them get on the radio.
I hope so.
Well, there are people helping them slap things together, and those are the same people that are helping them get on the. That are going to help them get on the radio.
Yes.
I hope so.
So take heart in knowing that. But yeah, those are our conclusive thoughts. Now we get to the main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews, where we sum it all up in poetic form. Let's bring it all together. Brett, what would be your haiku?
Well, this haiku was written not but 3 minutes ago, so somebody didn't transfer all of the show notes over, so this is a similar facsimile, but I tightened it up. Synthy Utah tunes. It's catchy and it's tight. It's got a gimmick.
Patrick, what is your haiku?
It's been a while since I hated an album. Jazzercise music.
Whoa. Shots fired. In poetic form.
It was like shots fired in this room. Oof.
Trying to quickly figure out how to make glass draw into my haiku.
But yeah, my haiku. Well executed, radio friendly synth pop for the faint of heart.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Drew, what is your haiku?
So glad I found them. Have played this album tons. They need to make more.
Yes. Yes. So look forward to them. They're doing their thing, and I hope they do succeed. Because that would be cool.
The last band I found early and hoped they succeeded was Snarky Puppy, and those motherfuckers won a Grammy. So
yeah. So there's I think they've got what it takes to make it. But yeah, that brings us to the end of another episode of Record Breakers.
You have Haliajuku, everybody. Haliajuku.
Are we doing a K-pop record next week?
No, not next week. Maybe I might bring back something in the future, but not next week. But you can of course find this album on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game.
Remember when there were like 3 or 4 services that we had to run down of where our playlist was going to be?
Yeah, I just forget that.
Spotify. It is there. I'm shocked.
Yeah, it is there. Next week's record, unfortunately, is not going to be on the Spotify playlist. It's an album.
On title.
I don't know. I don't think it's on title, but it's an album that actually I have to look up. It's an album. I'm not going to look it up, but when it came out, it came out in. I was trying to remember the year, but when it came out, it was Madlib, Talib Kweli released an album for free, and then took it, and then like for a very limited time, called Liberation. This is that album. You will enjoy it, or we'll talk about it. I don't know. We might enjoy it.
Don't tell me what I will enjoy, Petey.
Wait, my dad. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, it was.
I hate this record preemptively because fuck you.
But yeah,
I learned it from you, Petey.
It's actually holy crap! It's a 10-year-old album. It's 10 years ago that this was released in 2007.
I wasn't even listening.
Yeah.
Brett and
okay. The week after next, the 23rd. I will not.
We're still on the show.
Are we?
Yes, I was talking about the next week's.
You just did, and then I thought that was it.
No, I don't know. We're talking about.
Did we have?
You guys were dragging on.
That's what we always do.
He has a bit. Like he was bullshitting. He made a joke. We made a joke. He hasn't done the bit yet, and Brett hasn't said toodaloo. The fuck are you doing?
It's great. This all has to stay in.
Oh, of course. This is also to stay.
This is a professional show where we do professional things.
Yes. You can, of course, speaking of dating the show, by the way, you can, of course, find us all over the internet. Patrick is at The Swagger. Britt is at Hey Booty Bear, HBBI2RBIBBARD. Drew is at XDrewsFX. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast at gmail.com. Rebelly.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube and Twitch. All the calls to action. Like, subscribe, share, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos. Toodaloo. Trying to give him time to recover.
Toodaloo.